I've completed a new LP. It's about being human. Human possibilities. I'm not an AI, are you? Would you like to be one? Would you like to have super godlike intelligence and be smarter than any human? How about this? You don't have to eat. You don't have to pee or defecate, right? You don't need food. You're not going to get sick. You're not going to get cancer. You're not going to die. Would you like to be an AI? Wouldn't you? My name's Marc Lowe. I've been doing music as a solo artist, musician, performer. I edit video, I do sound work, I do cover art, as you can see behind me, some of my cover art. And this album, I don't know how many I've made, too many to count. Why should you care? What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be alive in the 21st century? In 1995, David Bowie did an album called One Outside.
Hello, Space Boy.
I think many people sort of missed this one. Not everyone, but some sort of missed it because it was a so-called difficult album. It had a storyline that was a bit difficult to follow, open-ended, non-conclusive. What he was feeling in 1995 was what maybe we're feeling now, except perhaps more intensely, whether or not we acknowledge it. You see, he was coming up at that time. We were, if you were alive at that time, if you were old enough at that time, I was in my early 20s, living in Japan for the first time in 1995 as a study abroad student in Osaka. And I bought this album, and really what it was about, and put the storyline aside, the detective and the body of used, body parts, this Leon Blanc, possible suspect, and Ramona A. Stone, who was cyborgian indeed. And let's think about this today. Facing the cusp then at that time, 21st century was upon him, upon us, and it was a comment on this. And for Bowie, it was this kind of ritual, self-mutation, the earrings, the piercings, the tattoos. We've gone well beyond that, haven't we? We are now in a time when to be human is to be, as it always has been, of course, vulnerable and, well, we're on the cusp of something very serious, perhaps. We're at a crossroads, are we not? I've been listening a lot to Noam Chomsky. He's a very brilliant man.
Later on, love of guns, anything to keep people's attention away from the socioeconomic policies.
A linguist, professor, philosopher, thinker. He knows the history. He knows a lot about the way that government, politics work and run, and what actually happens behind the veils, the various veils, and the smoke screens, the media. And, and what he says is that, in fact, are two major issues of our day. One is nuclear proliferation, war, and in particular, nuclear war, which will destroy humanity completely. And the second is global warming or climate change. The third is perhaps the AI, development of AI, in the way that this can be used to distract us, to trick us, to add another layer, another way to fool people.
Billions of dollars worth of deals and transactions, hoaxes, scams, and witch hunts. Scrutiny that I have. We're going to make America great again. We are going to get rid of these lunatics.
And people are so gullible. Right? This is also to be human. And perhaps the AI can take that, use it to its advantage to overtake us, but we created the AI. It's much like Frankenstein and his monster, right? The monster gets out of control. The creator regrets it. The creator, maybe in the end, is destroyed by his creation, or her. In this case, it's probably more him, more masculine, though it could be either. To be human. So I entitled this To Be Human. I didn't really think about it. It just came out. Like many things, when I create, when a creator creates, where does the creation come from? Where does the idea come from? It's a very mysterious process. And, but I've been thinking, I guess you could say, about what it means to be human. And, you know, in my work, in recent work, or some might say from the beginning, I've dealt with these kind of issues, and particularly, like I say, recently, you know, what is the body, for instance? Pain, what is pain telling? Physical pain. There's also mental pain. There's also the pain of separation, the pain of breaking up with someone, of losing someone, of losing something, of not having enough money to pay one's bills, of, you know, having troubles, of having health problems, of fear of sickness or death. And Sakamoto Ryuichi recently died, and I talked about that in a separate talk that many people have apparently watched and responded to in Japanese. And we all, as humans, face these issues. To be an AI is to not have to face these issues. An AI does not need to eat or drink. An AI does not need to go and use the toilet. An AI will not get cancer. An AI will, I guess, never die unless it's short-circuited or something, or it breaks down and needs repair. And as the rhetoric goes anyway, the AI may become, or maybe already is, I don't know about that, but more intelligent, so to speak, than we are. At least it is in some ways. I don't believe that the AI is able to do creative work the way that humans can do creative work, and this is part of my theme in this album, is to be human. I don't think an AI could have made this album that I made. I don't think so, at least not currently. Maybe in 10 years, 15 years, maybe at some point down the line. No one can predict this, but this album was created by a human, and that's me. And me, I say me, but me, I'm not talking ego, because I'm a Buddhist essentially, and so the ego in Buddhism doesn't exist, the self doesn't exist, right? Creativity moves through us. If we open up ourselves to it, we can be eternal, we can be everything and nothing. I don't mean to get too philosophical, but indeed, I'm not going to say it's my belief, I'm going to say it's been my experience. And so, you know, all this stuff, I mean, it just comes through. And it's continually moving through. It's just, we need to be receptive to it. We need to be an antenna to this energy, this creative energy. And if we can be so, it will flow through us. And we don't need to bomb each other and create bigger and badder weapons and threaten and hate each other and be jealous of each other and do all these horrible things to one another, which actually comes back at us and bites us in our own, you know, in the ass, which is, you know, you put it out and it comes back. That's what the ancient Hindus called karma. which just means action, movement, action. You do something, it eventually moves, and there's an equal and opposite, right? Response, not always exactly equal, exactly, opposite, that you can quantify it in a mathematical equation, or that it's always the same. I'm not saying this, and it's not a moral thing. It's not a moral imperative. It's not saying God will strike you down with lightning if you do something bad. But if you put out negative energy, if you put out hatred, if you try to hurt someone, if you try to, you want to win the game, win the war, a bomb, build a bigger bomb, whatever, it's going to come back not only to bite you personally, but everyone. Humanity, society, and that hurts you eventually too, doesn't it? Because if you build the nuclear, atomic, or whatever bomb, as Oppenheimer, right, in his talk says,
we knew the world would not be the same.
We knew the world would not be the same, and it's never been. This is the consequence of the actions that we take. It's not just one's action comes back and bites one equally. It's that one's action comes back and bites the world. That we as a society, that we as a whole, as humans, and creating AI the same. You create Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein's monster, if it becomes smarter than you, and Frankenstein's monster wasn't that smart in the movie or the book, maybe. I don't remember the book that well.
No, you're hurting me! No!
I did read it years ago, but the AI are said to be, right, that Google, the CEO or whatever, according to Elon Musk, whether or not we can trust his words 100%, I don't know, but right, that he wants to build this superhuman, godlike AI. He called, Elon Musk says he called me a speciesist, that I'm standing up for humans. Well, but humans are really fucking humans up pretty well without the AI already, aren't we? Maybe AI is also another smokescreen. Maybe it's another hey, look over there, the AI are coming, and then over here, they're bombing the cities, or they're, raising our taxes and cost of living, or whatever the fuck. So, To Be Human is the title of my album. I didn't think long and hard, what am I going to title the album? And I never do this, it's just these things kind of naturally sort of develop and evolve. Last year's documentary I released called Evolution, it's still evolving in evolution. We're still evolving, but sometimes it seems that we're evolving in reverse, which is called devolution, right? Maybe we're devolving, but we don't need to devolve. The smarter we get, the dumber we get. In other words, the smarter we get, the more we mess ourselves up because we just want it all. We want to be God. Well, the irony is if you empty yourself of ego and stop trying to one up the next guy, or, that you have a bigger pool than your neighbor or whatever, the bigger whatever, the car or more expensive thing or better thing or stronger, better, this, that, the other. What is the goal of life? Death is the end of everyone's journey. But do we need to bring ourselves pain and suffering and death and early death when right now we have life? Why do we need to do this? Why don't we just be human? Why don't we just be imperfect? Why don't we just be what we are? Why don't we just open ourselves to the better, positive, brighter energies of this universe, this world? And I'm not trying to sound new age, but honestly, this is all that we can do as humans. And we're not robots, and we're not going to live forever, and we're not going to, be the king of the hill forever, even if we become that for a single moment because we had the bigger bomb and we bombed the city and we won the city, and then our neighbor bombs us, and then they get our city, and then someone bombs them. And it just goes on and on. Hello? When are we going to wake up to this fucking thing, you know? And just realize this is not the way. This is not the way. Is it? Is this what we want? And do we want AI, you know, doing our jobs? And do we want AI writing our papers? The university students writing the paper so we can, you know, can go out and have fun. But then you're going to depend on technology and not your own brain. Isn't that also what makes us human and not, you know, it differs us from monkeys or other species of animals? And I'm not saying animals are stupid, but they can't, you know, they didn't create. You know, we've got the Sistine Chapel and Mona Lisa and all that. That's a cliche, but I mean, you know, they don't do art the way that we do, or create Tesla cars or whatever either. You know, they don't work for Apple. They don't work for Google. The people at Google are creating machines that are going to be smarter than they are. Is that very smart? I don't know. To be human. And I'm not going to go into the politics of it, as I say in the opening track. There's a lot I could say about that. I think the album speaks for itself. Have a listen. It's on Bandcamp. It's free. And maybe I'll put it here too. It's free. I'm not doing this for money. I'm not doing this for recognition. I'm doing this because this is what I do. It's not my first career, and I'm not trying to turn it into a career per se. So I'm also just a human trying to make sense of this world.